Hi, I'm Mike Lappel for BizNews.com. It's great to chat to Rudie Heyneke. He's the chief investigator into state capture expert at the organization Undoing Tax Abuse. It's good to speak to you again, Rudie. It's been a while since we caught up on state capture matters. Brian Molefe, Anoj Singh, Niven, Pillay, and a Mr. Litha and Nyhonyha arrested in relation with Transnet corruption. Firstly, your reaction to this news of these arrests?
Thank you, Michael. Yes, I think, OUTA, as the rest of South Africa should be, is very pleased about this arrest today. This is what we've all been calling for, to see high-profile people getting in the dock. So, yes, and let's hope that the trial will start off, as soon as possible.
The above-mentioned gentlemen, Brian Molefe, Anoj Singh, those are pretty household names in the state capture world. Where exactly do they fit in with this Transnet matter? Just explain where they were at Transnet, what they were doing, and pretty much what they're accused of before we get into the 1064 locomotives deal.
Well, at the time, Brian Molefe was the group CEO of Transnet, appointed early in 2011 until 2015 when he was moved to Eskom. Anoj Singh has been with Transnet for quite some time before that, but he got promoted, to the position of Chief Financial Officer, and he followed Brian Molefe to Eskom later on in 2015.
Yeah, these are the gentlemen, Brian Molefe especially. There was some prescient ability of the Guptas, the New Age newspaper, who predicted, strangely enough, that Brian Molefe would be appointed from the PIC to Transnet. And they knew that before any advertisement had even gone up, before anybody on the board had even known this. Is that correct?
Yes. I think it was the second edition of the printed New Age that came out on the 7th of December 2010, where they predicted, that was just before the announcement of the new Transnet board, but with the predictions of people who will be serving on the board, they also predicted that Brian Molefe will become the new CEO. And that is information that was not even public. By that time, the new board still had to go through a sifting process and a due diligence, etc., to get candidates for the CEO position. So, yeah, that was quite premature.
Yeah, it's easy to make predictions when you're the one rigging the game, I suppose, is the lesson there that we've come to learn years later. The 1064 locomotives deal, just break that down for us.
Well, Transnet identified the need for a new locomotive fleet, diesel locomotives as well as electric locomotives, and they needed really a new fleet because the locomotives they had in the fleet was about 30 years old. So then they started to put out these tenders, and at the end of the day, the 1064 locomotives, as we know it. It was acquisitions that were given to 4 different service providers or four different OEMs. 2 of them, the biggest ones, went to China South Rail and China North Rail, that later became CRRC, and it is there where these kickbacks, especially, the people before court today, not so much with the acquisition of the locomotives, but the financing thereof. That's why they were in court today.
Yes, it's a $1.5 billion financing that came from the China Development Bank that Regiments was involved in, and it was paid a success fee for arranging the finance, negotiating the finance. And it was paid, if memory serves correctly, it was paid 189 million rand is what Regiments received as a success fee. And then 147 million rand of that would be paid to Albatime, which is Kuben Moodley's company. And then 122 million of that 147 would be paid to Sahara Computers. So round and round the circle, the Gupta money laundering circle goes. So the company that negotiated this 1.5 billion rand gets paid a success fee, and it makes its way back to the Guptas, not in a very elaborate way. Now, where Trillian gets involved, so really the four gentlemen who are in the dock today, they will be added to another case, and it all relates to this 93 million rand Transnet corruption case. But as I understand it, Regiments gets paid a success fee, but as does Trillian. Trillian invoices for the same work that Regiments did and gets paid the 93 million. Is that what they're sitting in court for?
Yes, the previous cases, with the 6 accused, Gama, Wood, Ramosebudi, Pita, and the rest, Moodley, that was for, the club loan. Originally, Transnet, applied for a loan and got the facility from the China Development Bank of $2.5 billion. Then they decided only to do a drawdown of $1.5 billion, and the rest, the balance thereof, the $1 billion, they sourced that from local banks. That was in the amount of around about between 12 and 15 billion rand. And that's what we call the club loan. And for that club loan, Trillian got involved. That was after the breakaway of Eric Wood from Regiments. Trillian got involved, and they were classified as the so-called lead arranger of that second club loan facility. And for that, they got the 93 million rand, and some of that also found its way back to the Gupta companies. But before that, like I said, the $1.5 billion loan facility from the China Development Bank, Regiments was the lead arranger there. That was before the breakup between Wood and Messrs. Pillay and Nyhonyha. And for that, Regiments got 189 million rand as a kickback or a success fee. And as you said, 141 of that, found its way back to Albatime, and Kuben Moodley also received a 3% kickback on that, 5.6 million rand. And that 141, the balance thereof, that was distributed to several companies. Salim Essa got 20 million rand of that, and a big chunk of that ended up with Sahara Computers.
So they're back in court on the 14th of October. I don't know if you listened into court proceedings today, but the accused defense attorneys and advocates are all saying, listen, we want to get the show on the road. You need to disclose the docket, and you need to make sure that your investigations are wrapped up by then. As an outside observer, do you foresee a lot more time, more postponements, or do you think the case is getting to a point where they can potentially take it to trial come October?
I do foresee that there will be more arrests. I do believe that Salim Essa, as a recipient of some of these funds, as well as Atul Gupta in his capacity as a director of Sahara Computers at the time, they should also be, arrested and charged in this case. So that may be, result in a further postponement or two. But I think that the investigations, and I've spoken to some of the investigators on the matter, I think the investigations itself is done. They don't need a lot more to add to, be able to give out the charge sheet to the defense attorneys.
I suppose the giant Gupta elephant in the room is that they are not here. They are sitting in Dubai. There's yet to be a ruling that they get extradited to South Africa, and we don't know how long that process is going to take. I think we need to be honest. It's not going to be a matter of weeks or months. It could take a lot longer. If they are to be joined as co-accused in this case, can this this case proceed without the Guptas, with the Guptas still sitting there? Because it would appear from advocate, I think it's Van den Heever, that she was saying, look, are the Guptas going to be added here? If they are, what does that mean for this case going to trial? Because some of the co-accused, if they are going to be joined, are still sitting in Dubai.
Well, there is a procedure where trials can be separated. So this trial with these accused before the court now can proceed. So it's not necessary to wait for all the accused. They can be put on trial whenever they are here, or when they are available or arrested. They can be trialed in a separate trial.
Okay, I see. And really, what have you heard about what's going on in Dubai? I see the NPA has said that they filed it within the 60 days, the 2 months, the extradition process. Is it just a wait and see game now?
As I understand it, there's a court case that must follow now, where obviously the Guptas will make representations to the court to say why they should not be extradited. Obviously, the NPA will argue for extradition. When that matter will become before court, we don't know. But I don't think that it will be, too long from now. As I understand the procedures after the representations made by the NPA, there is a panel of judges that must decide on the merits of the matter without hearing any arguments, just on papers, and then it goes to court for arguments. So hopefully, that procedures will kick off in due time, and hopefully we will have a ruling on that side on the extradition of the Guptas.
The wheels of justice turn slowly, but they do turn. I think today is evidence of that. Brian Molefe, Anoj Singh and co released on 50,000 Rand bail. They'll be back in the Palm Ridge Magistrates Court on the 14th of October. Rudie Heyneke, thank you for your time.